All right, cool. Well, I'm glad that everybody made it today. I'm excited to be doing another virtual field trip with our farmer, Jason. My name is Miss Emily. I work with Nebraska Agriculture in the classroom. And so I'm excited to be doing this little virtual field trip today and talking more about pigs. I know Mr. Koth's classroom was on our last field trip, so we're going to look at pigs in a different light today. Instead of focusing on their basic needs, we're going to learn a little bit about traits and genetics and why our farmers care about those two things. But before we do that, I want to have Farmer Jason go ahead and do a quick little introduction of himself, his operation, and just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, yep, my name is Jason Coles. I am a hog producer in Northeast Nebraska. I live in Cedar County. I have been raising hogs for 8 years now. It kind of started out of a need to diversify the operation. I was just strictly row crop farming and wanted to diversify into something else. And so hogs worked out to be that diversification factor for me. And so, like I say, yeah, I've been raising hogs for 8 years. I put up 2 barns 8 years ago that holds 2,400 head each. And then I just built another barn last year. So I have the capacity to hold just shy of 10,000 head.
That's awesome. That's a lot of pigs, right, kids? That's a lot of pigs. Well, very, very cool. We are excited to have you with us today and to just kind of pick your brain about a few things and your knowledge on pigs. The first thing we're going to do today to start is we're going to meet some pigs. So in our last field trip, we actually got to see some hogs that were ready for market. And so I have some new pigs for us to look at today. Farmer Jason shared this video with me this morning of some piglets that they just brought onto his farm. So we're going to go ahead and watch this video. There's not a whole lot of sound on this. We're just going to kind of watch. So if there's any problems, please shoot me a message or kind of flag me down, get my attention, and we will, I'll fix it and we'll go from there. But we're going to watch some little piggies. All right. Did everybody see that video okay? I think so. I think it played okay on my end. Jason, did you see it okay on your end?
Yeah, I did. It was still a little glitchy. Like it was a
little glitchy.
Yeah.
But okay.
I could see it. I could see everything that was happening.
Okay. There was a lot of pigs in that video. Could you give us maybe an estimate on how many piglets you had?
Yep. So that was one of 2 loads of pigs that I got this morning. There was basically 950 head in that one group that came on a semi-trailer this morning. It was very cold out this morning, but they stayed warm. There were sides put on the trailers so that it was completely enclosed. And so the heat from the pigs actually warmed up the trailer for them. So it wasn't freezing cold inside the trailer that they came in. But I did receive 2 separate semi-loads this morning. And so all 1,800 head went into that one room that we just saw.
That's awesome. That's super cool. So friends, when our pigs are born, we call them piglets when they're babies. And so when piglets are born, they usually look identical or very, very similar to their parents. And this is because of traits. So traits are something that we're going to talk about today, and why our farmers look at traits when we pick our pigs. So what's cool about traits, friends, is that you and I have traits too from our parents. So something I want you guys to do in your classroom, can everybody hear me okay? I want us to we're going to identify a trait that we have from our parents. So I want everybody to put their fingers on their ears. Okay. All right. So one of the traits that we can get from our parents is whether we have detached or attached earlobes. So if you look at the picture I have up on the screen, you can kind of compare and see which one your ears feel more like. That is determined by the genetics that we get from our parents. So that's one cool thing that we can keep in mind when we talk about our pigs today is they have genetics that our farmers care about, but you and I also have genetics too that we get from our parents. So our earlobes are one of them, right? We can look at our eye color and our height and our hair color. So our farmers care about these things in their pigs as well. And I want to ask Farmer Jason, why do we care about the genetics of our pigs when we're raising pigs for production in Nebraska?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are roughly 8 different breeds of pigs that we mainly focus on, the top 8 breeds here in the United States. The predominant one was what you just saw, were the Yorkshire. Those are the white pigs. They're pretty much all white. A few of them might have a spot here and there, but they're pretty much more like they would be considered a crossbreed with some other type of breed, such as a Duroc or a Berkshire. But the Yorkshire is really popular. The Durocs are the red pigs that you see. Maybe there's some red color to them. That would be a Duroc breed. There's also the Berkshire pig. Hampshire is the top 4. So we have Yorkshire, Duroc, Berkshire, and Hampshire. And when we talk traits, many times when we talk traits with pigs, we're looking for certain characteristics that the mother's side might have or the father's side might have. So when we're looking at the mother's side, we talk about a sow being able to have piglets, and longevity is a big thing with that. So if she can continue to produce for a number of years, that is a trait that we look for in certain breeds. It could be a good milk producer. If there's a certain breed that is maybe a little better milk producer than another breed, we'll do a crossbreed so that we can kind of just continue to look for the best traits in each breed, and then maximize those traits when we crossbreed them with other pigs.
Awesome. And is there a way, I know that you have a finishing operation, so you don't focus on the breeding side of things, but from your knowledge, how can our farmers that have breeding operations, how can they control those genetics? You said what things that we wanted, you noted a few things that we wanted to look for, right? Good milk producers, good moms. How can our farmers control those things?
Yep. So we, as on the sow farms, we record all the data from each sow. And so we know how long she's been in production. We know the number of piglets that she has. We know birth weights of the piglets. There's just so many things that we know at the sow farms. And so we can look back at records and say, this sow was really good at being a milk producer, and she had really good sized babies. And so looking at the characteristics that we're looking for that are very good for reproduction, those are the things that we focus on. And then if there's certain traits, like I said before, from the male side, maybe it's really muscular. Maybe she produces and he produces babies that are really muscular and have really vigor and stamina. Maybe it's a thing where they don't get sick a lot. And so all these things play into the genetics that we look for when we start talking about reproduction on the boars or the sow side.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's lots of things to keep in mind when we are thinking about raising these pigs, right? So we have to keep track of these traits and these genetics on not only our mom pigs, on our sows, but also in our male pigs as well, because they are helping us produce these litters, right, to continue our production. I have one more video of our piglets today. This is a video from inside of the trailer, so you guys can see a little bit what the inside of the trailer looks like as our pigs are getting off and being transported to Farmer Jason's farm. Awesome. So there was a lot of pigs in that video. Okay. And you said you had 2 trailer loads this morning, right? So this would just be one.
Yep. So that's a view looking into the trailer. You'll notice that there's several levels or decks on that trailer. There's an upper deck and a lower deck, and so it makes for efficiency. When we haul them, we can put more into the trailer because of the several decks, and then the truck driver definitely helps unload them as well.
Yeah, awesome. I was just going to ask that if your truck driver had any help, what kind of team does it take to help unload those pigs?
Yep. So I'm actually the one filming from this perspective. If you look at the screen now, the other gentleman in the picture is actually my son. He helps me on the hog farm. And so that's the alleyway that goes into the barns. And so we kind of lead them into the barn. And as I said earlier, it was really cold this morning. And so I think they were thankful definitely to get inside where it was heated. When we start the pigs out, we start them at 83 degrees in the barn. So.
Oh, wow. That's really warm. Do they, when you are unloading them off the trailer, do they move pretty good as piglets? Like we're walking as a group. Do you think they do pretty good with the alleyway?
Yeah, they do. It's surprising. They unloaded really well this morning. They just kept kind of walking casually off the trailer into the barn. Sometimes it's a little more frustrating. You kind of have to, we use what we call shakers. It's basically like a can that's filled with BBs, and we just kind of shake it, and then that sound scares them. And so that kind of encourages them to go down the alleyway. And then my son counts, as they go through the alleyway there, he counts them as they come off. So we make sure that we have the numbers that match with the sow farm scent.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's a lot of pigs, and that's really cool to see the way that you move them in. I'm sure they were excited to go towards the heat, so that probably helped your case a little bit this morning.
I think so too. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you said that the majority of the hogs on your farm are the breed Yorkshire. Have you ever had any other breeds on your farm besides Yorkshire, or do you try and stick to just that breed?
So there are some crossbreeds that I have gotten before. The Duroc are the red kind. The Berkshire is kind of a black colored pig. The Hampshire is the other one. And I don't know, maybe some of the students have seen a Hampshire. Those are the pigs that look black in the back and black in the front. And then there's this white band around them. And that's called a Hampshire. And so I have had different crossbred pigs on my farm before, but like I said before, primarily it's the Yorkshires.
Very cool. Awesome. My friends in the classroom, I just want to see a quick show of hands. How many of you friends have cats or dogs at home? Does anybody have a cat or a dog at home? Yeah. Okay. So our pigs are similar to our pets at home, right? And they have different traits and different breeds as well. So sometimes our dogs have different breeds, like a golden retriever, maybe, right? Or a Chihuahua. So we have different breeds in our pigs that farmer Jason has talked about. So Yorkshire is the one that we're looking at right now, these little white babies, which are super, super cute, but there's lots of different options for farmers to choose from when they raise these pigs. I want to go ahead and open up the floor for any questions. If students have questions, I'm going to have you go ahead. You can either put it in the chat and I can ask Farmer Jason, or if you'd like to unmute and have students ask questions one at a time. We've got a few minutes for questions before we do our review. Hi, sweetie. Do you have a question?
We have a question here, Emily.
All right. What's your question, sweetie?
Yes. Do the pigs take a shower?
Ooh, do the pigs take a shower? In the last one, we did talk
take
about
showers or get baths.
Okay. Remember last one when we talked about how our farmers have to shower in and out of our barns? So we're wondering if our pigs have to take showers.
Actually, no, they don't. We don't, the pigs don't have to shower. Like I said, once they get into the barn, they pretty much stay in the barn until I transition them either to another finishing barn, or they stay in that same pen until we ship them back out.
Awesome. So we don't have to wash our pigs like we have to sometimes give our dogs a bath, right? Does anybody else have a question? I see a few hands. Ms. Hurd, do you have any questions from your classroom?
What's your question?
I said, did your students have any questions that they'd like to ask Farmer Jason? You can either put them in, you can put them in the chat, or you can have the students come up and ask directly.
They eat corn. All right. They're asking what do they all eat? What goes into their feed? Like what is all in their feed that they eat?
Okay.
Yep. So that's a good question. When I get the babies in, like you saw in the video, they're actually fed a small type of pellet. It's a concentrated pellet that has a dense nutrition in it. It's kind of sweet tasting, and they actually like the flavor of it, but also there's amino acids, there's protein. It's a balanced pellet. And then not too long after that, they transition into corn and soybean type of feed. So they seem to really like it though, because basically when I get them off the trailer, this is their first time off the farm and kind of away from the sow or the mom. And so they're around 18 to 20 days old at this stage, and they're 12 pounds.
So I'm sure they're excited for something new besides the milk that they have been drinking for the last 20 days, right? So I'm sure.
That is correct.
Yeah. All right. Looks like Mr. Koth's classroom has another question.
What time does the little pigs go to sleep?
Did you say what time do the little pigs go to sleep?
You're kind of cutting out. Repeat the question. You're kind of cutting out.
What time do the little pigs go to sleep?
They ask what time they go to sleep?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So what
this
time
time
do
of
baby
year,
pigs go to sleep?
yeah. So this time of year, it depends again on the light. I do have curtains in the barn that let in natural light. And so they do kind of, live off of the light coming through the curtain. But they usually wake up, around 6:30 or 7. They start getting restless and they get hungry. And so they go to the feeder and they'll eat right away. And then they'll kind of play with their friends. And then not too long after that, they'll get tired and they'll take a nap. And so they'll go through several cycles of this during the day where they'll sleep, they will eat, they'll play, and then they'll go back to sleep again. And so usually every couple, 2 or 3 hours is when they'll take a nap again.
Awesome. We had another one from Ms. Hurd's class. Do your barns have fans, and how many pigs do you have in each barn?
Yep. So the way that I cool the barns is with fans, and the way that I keep fresh air in the barns is with fans. And so the room that you saw earlier has 5 external fans on the wall, and then there's 3 pit fans that pull air down through the slats. And so there's always fresh air coming into the barn from the ventilation up above on the ceiling. And then the heaters, there's 3 heaters in each room. So there's heat and there's fresh air. So that one room that you saw, there was room for about 1,250 head once they get bigger. But totally on my side, I have room for about 10,000.
That's pretty awesome. That's a lot of room for a lot of pigs, friends. And it's really important that our farmers keep our piglets warm, especially when they're so little. Especially during this time of year, like Farmer Jason said, it was a little bit cold this morning when we brought those pigs in. So to be able to have a barn, to have a shelter that has all of those things that the pig needs, especially the heat, is very, very important. We'll take another question from Mr. Koth's classroom.
What if the barn gets on fire?
Did she say if it were to get on fire?
Yeah.
What happens if the barn?
Yeah. What happens if the barn catches on fire?
So that is something that would be catastrophic in a situation like mine, because there really wouldn't be any time or way to get all of the pigs out safely in a time that would be safe for humans to go in and get them. But I do have fire extinguishers, and there are sprinklers in the barn if something were to happen that I could turn on. But like I say, there wouldn't be a lot of time. It would get out of hand really, really quickly if something like that were to happen.
That's why it's really important. Our farmers, especially Farmer Jason, is very prepared in that sense of always having a game plan. So it's important, friends, that he has a kind of a game plan on to know what to do when an emergency happens. Like you said, he has fire extinguishers and sprinklers, and he knows all the entrances and exits and knows what to do if something like that would happen. But it's not very often that something like that would happen, right, Farmer Jason?
That is correct.
Okay, so that's not something that we have to worry about necessarily on a daily basis, because we are prepared to handle and avoid those situations, right? Do the pigs fight for food when they are together, when they're in groups?
That is a great question. Naturally, in any type of herd that you have of any type of animal, whether it be pigs or cattle or anything, they have a herd mentality. And so it truly is, there is a pecking order, they call it, where you have a dominant pig and they will establish that hierarchy or that dominancy over the other pigs in the pen. And so, yes, there is an order in which certain pigs like to eat, and they will maintain that throughout their life in the barn.
Awesome. How long when you get your piglets, how long do you keep your piglets in the barn, in the nursery barn?
Yep. So what I try to do is keep them in the same barn, so I don't even have to move the pigs. My facility is designed to accommodate small pigs, but also can handle the large ones as well. So it's a thing where age-wise, they come in at about 18 to 20 days. And then roughly 20 weeks from now is when I will start possibly shipping out the first group of fat pigs at around 275, 280 pounds.
Awesome. So they grow a long ways from when you get them in as piglets to finishing at almost 275 pounds, right?
Yeah, it's amazing how fast they do grow.
Absolutely. Do you think that their ability to grow and how quick they grow has anything to do with the genetics that we talked about today?
Oh, that's a great question, and it for sure does. And that's when we talked earlier about the different breeds or the different crossbreeding of pigs. Looking at the characteristics of the mother or the father goes into definitely picking, which sows and which boars that we use on the pig farms, and how fast they gain weight, and how they convert the food that they eat into gaining muscle on their body is definitely a factor when choosing those breeds.
Absolutely. So there's lots of things, friends. We talked about that word genetics today. So there's lots of things when we look as farmers, when we look at genetics, there's lots of things for us to consider. And their ability to grow is another one of those great things. And so I'm glad that we asked that question, because that was perfect. Today, I want to do a quick little review before we go off. I'll take one more question if we have a question ready. But if not, we will go ahead and review. Did we have one more question? All right. I'm going to take that as we're going to review.
There was a question I think that popped up, wasn't there?
There was one just came in. Which are the biggest and smallest pigs?
Yep. So typically, like I said, I try to get them, and we hope to have them between 11 and 12 pounds when I get them, but a lot of times they're not that big. Maybe they're just smaller when they were born, or maybe they didn't, as we talked earlier, they had the pecking order. Maybe they didn't get as much milk as some certain other pigs were able to get. But, anything under 7 pounds, I put in a separate pen and separate them away from the others, just so that there's not as much competition for that little pig. But less than 7 pounds is really a challenge in the barn.
Yep. they need to be able to be strong enough, right? So they can get their food and their water and have all of their needs met. So that's pretty awesome that you do that. Friends, we're going to go ahead and review. We talked about traits today and how you and I have traits. So it was kind of fun to look at our ears and our eyes and our hair color and all of those things that we can look at in ourselves that we get from our moms and dads. But I want you guys to remember after today that our farmers also really care about the traits of our animals. And that goes for our pigs that we're raising in Nebraska, but all of our other livestock that we raise as well. And on Farmer Jason's farm, he actually isn't in charge of choosing those genetics all the time, right? He said he gets these pigs after they're already born, and sometimes once they're ready to start growing. So different farmers will do different things, but we still care about those traits a lot, right? Because those traits are going to be what affect the pigs that we put out, right? Because the pigs are providing you and I with food products and byproducts that we use and consume on a daily basis. So that is all I had for you guys today, friends. I have a recording of this video if anybody wants a copy, but I appreciate you guys hopping on with us today and asking more about pigs. We have 2 more left for this year. So I would love to encourage you guys to sign up for the next 2. We'll be talking about more pigs, and so, we'll talk about shelter and some other fun things regarding our pigs in Nebraska. So thank you guys all for being on again today, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, guys.